My name is Stanley Potter, and I was born in 1925. I grew up in Moundsville, West Virginia. It's a little town with a penitentiary and pretty good schools. I went to the Central Grade School from the first grade through the sixth, and Moundsville Junior High School from sixth grade through the ninth. And the high school, Moundsville High School, from ninth grade through the 12th. Then I went to West Liberty State College after serving in the armed forces for approximately 2 years. I got a BA degree from West Liberty State College, and then I went on to medical school and finished there in 1952 and got a Doctor of Medicine degree. My mother's name was Geneva Bell Lancaster, and my father's name was Carson Raymond Potter. My mother was a school teacher, and she was probably the big interest that we had in schooling, and to go on and get a degree in what you want to do the rest of your life. And she was a very good parent, and she wanted to see you go to school and get and try to become something, you know. And my dad worked for the Western Union Telegraph Company. He was a hard worker, but he didn't have the college training that my mother did. They were happily married, and we didn't move around too much when we were growing up. I got a broken leg when I was 9 years old. I fell out of a tree when the branch broke, and I broke my leg above the knee, and I was laid up for one summer, about 3 months. I had a good many cousins because my mother was a daughter of, her parents had 7 children, and my dad's parents had 7 children. And we visited them through the years, and some of them lived close by in Moundsville, and some lived in Fairmont, West Virginia, and Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, was where my father's dad and mother lived. It was just a small town about the same size as Moundsville, with about 3,000 to 5,000 people lived in there. I have one brother who is 1 year older than me. He also went to West Liberty State College, and then we both went to George Washington University. And my brother's name is Raymond Selva Potter. That was a kind of a different name. It was spelled S-E-L-V-A. We had a hobby of building model airplanes, and we were state champions in West Virginia 1 year. They had contests about how good they could fly, and mainly how long they would stay up in the air by running the motor for 20 seconds to start. And then how long would the plane be able to stay in the air after the motor shut off. It was quite a good hobby. We had a model airplane club from the high school. We didn't live too far. We walked to school every day, even through rain and snow. We didn't have very many days that we had to do that, but we did it some. We had jobs throughout mainly carrying papers, newspapers, and then working around the house there for painting the house in the summertime and did different chores. And we were very close until World War II, when we got separated with the services. My brother was in the army and was shot through the leg in Belgium, and in I think it was 1944, and that's the only injury that we had in the service. He had to go in for some surgery afterwards. That he had a broken bone in his lower leg, and he had to have it removed later. I went in the military in 1943, but first I went to the Merchant Marine. I was in the Merchant Marine for about 3 months. Then I was drafted out of that into the Navy. Then I was in the Navy for a little over 2 years, and I was in the South Pacific, and I was in on the invasions of Iwo Jima and Okinawa. My experience in the service in World War II, we were on what we called an LST. It was a landing ship tank, and we carried tanks and men to different islands in the Pacific. The experience on the ship is not too much. You're constantly under battle conditions, and when they sound the alarm, you have to run to your battle station. And when we went in on Iwo Jima and Okinawa, we had Japanese planes flying overhead, and we kept shooting toward them. I don't think that we hit any of them, but I'm not sure. They were aiming for the larger ships, especially the battleships. We invaded Iwo Jima first, and we stayed there about 1 week until they secured the island. And then we went back to Guam, and we were there for a few weeks before we went to Okinawa. The battles, they were kind of dull, really. We had to stay at what they call general quarters, and you're always at a battle station. But other than that, there's not much different than just being on a ship and with a battle group of men, you know. I was 18 when I went in 1943, and I came out in 1945. I was in for 2 years. After that, I had to go to college first, and I had to get 3 years of college. And then I went to medical school. I went to medical school from 1948 to 1952. Internship was only 1 year long, and then I went to ophthalmology for three years, also at Charleston, West Virginia. I met my wife in Charleston. She was a nurse anesthetist, and she was working at the hospital close to where I was working. We were at different hospitals, but they were fairly close together. And my wife's name was Patricia Ann McElhaney. Then I went back in the service, and they put me through my specialty. I specialized in ophthalmology after I met my wife. I was in Korea after the war. I wasn't in the Korean War. Yeah, I was a doctor, and I was the eye doctor for the troops in Korea, and some of the civilian people. Mostly they didn't have an eye doctor. I was the only eye doctor for a few months. Yes. When I came back from Korea, I still had 2 years to go in the service, and we went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was in North Carolina for about 2 years, and Eric was born there, and then you were born in California. Kyle we got married before I went to Korea, and Kyle was born before I left. Your mother and Kyle went back and lived with her folks until I came back from Korea. Oh, I began working for Kaiser when I got out of the service. I knew some doctors in the service that went from the service to Kaiser, and I did the same. I didn't join Kaiser until I got to California. Yeah, I worked for Kaiser for about 20 years. I was always interested in optics, and it was a fascinating field, and I just thought I would go into it. Well, Alicia and Carson are going to school in Lancaster, California, and they're doing as well. We want them to complete their grade school and high school so they'll be ready for college.
And you've got another grandbaby on the way.
Yeah, there's another one on the way with Eric and his wife. So we want them to do as well in school as that they can. Oh, not really. You all were very good children. Kyle and Eric and Lynn. And that's about it.